125-day wait is over. The 2025 season gets underway. Good start from Alvaro Bautista from the second row of the grid. They head in towards turn number one. It's Bulega who will lead them. Iannone on the inside. Bautista comes around Toprak Razgatlioglu and try to pinch him in now by taking the inside line into the southern loop for the first time. Good work that from Alvaro Bautista to leapfrog the BMW of Toprak Razgatlioglu. Petrucci and Redding holding station behind in 5th and 6th places, but it's Bulega who leads, and a good start from Alvaro Bautista. Opportunity to respond immediately here into Miller Corner because Razgatlioglu is right on its tail. Side by side between the two leaders as well. Diving down the inside as I expected. Toprak Razgatlioglu comes through on Bautista. Redding versus Petrucci, the battle for 5th position behind.
Remy Gardner's gone down to turn 4 there as well. Iannone's done a good job to be able to stick with Bulega. This is the section of track though where Bulega is so strong, so for Iannone he has to try and stick with it to give yourself that slipstream down the start-finish straight.
Redding didn't manage to get through on Petrucci, so no change there. Toprak did manage to recover 3rd position against Alvaro Bautista, but the top two have already managed to bolt away. 4/10 of a second, the gap for Razgatlioglu to recover against Iannone as early as lap number 1.
Yeah, and you can see it is starting to stretch out a bit there, and for Redding and Danilo Petrucci in 6th and 5th position, they need to make sure they're able to go with that lead group.
This top 5, to be fair, is probably what the pecking order has roughly been in terms of performance, certainly through Friday, with Iannone trying his best to keep Bulega on.
Let's see if Iannone is able to pick up any sort of slipstream here, because if he can't, he's already half a second down.
Alvaro Bautista has got the run on Toprak Razgatlioglu off the final turn and breezes through like days of yore for Alvaro Bautista there on Toprak Razgatlioglu down the Gardner straight and into Duan at the start of lap number 2. So Bautista and Razgatlioglu, the last two world champions, scrapping it out, but it's only for 3rd position.
Yeah, this is a fight for 2nd right now, already only a lap into the season, because Bulega, you can see in the distance, just stretching out that lead.
Had monotonous pace in the Superpole session. He was able to run multiple laps all at the same speed. Problem for Iannone. Problem for Iannone. He hit issues a year ago, didn't he, here at Phillip Island later on in the weekend after starting with a podium in race 1. That's bunched up the field. Bautista was unsighted. He's been picked off by Petrucci and Scott Redding. So that really has not worked out at all well for Alvaro Bautista. Seemingly surprised by the slowing Iannone. Iannone is back up to speed now, but down in 6th position.
Obviously enough, everyone's cost that time from Iannone, and the issue he had, it cost them a lot of time in Iannone off track again at turn 1.
Yeah, issue he clearly still has, because he has run off the circuit at the first turn on lap number 3. Iannone now dropping down to 10th position. So real shame for him, because he should have been the closest rider to fighting Bulega on the evidence of what we saw on long run pace on Friday. But instead, Iannone's out of the running for the podium positions altogether. Razgatlioglu 2nd is settling into a rhythm now, having come under siege from Alvaro Bautista on those opening 2 laps. Bautista, meanwhile, in 4th place, will probably be a little bit knocked to find himself behind Danilo Petrucci, who was behind him in the early running. And Bautista actually made a much better start to this race than he did to most races in 2024.
Let's have a look and see what happens to Iannone. Massive moment there through the southern loop, but does he have another moment then as well through Stoner? He's the only rider out there on the older Most rear tyre. I wonder, has he just had some sort of a problem there? But for Iannone, with 55 degrees track temperature, it's easy for the bike to get a bit slick.
As Alvaro Bautista ducks to the inside of Danilo Petrucci. This is for a place on the podium, remember, provisionally, as early as lap number 4. Bautista recovering and is through into 3rd place. Petrucci behind him, and Scott Redding's got through on Petrucci as well. So good job well done there by Scott Redding.
And Michael van der Mark doing a good job in 6th position to go with them as well.
Redding on his return to Ducati this weekend after seasons with BMW that proved fruitless. Redding fighting Petrucci. Petrucci will come back at him, make no mistake about that. Petrucci will go to the inside into Miller Corner, but Redding holds position. In fact, Redding is able to charge through on Alvaro Bautista as well. This is the best we've seen from Scott Redding for quite some time.
Yeah, great to see from Redding. We know that whenever he's got a bike underneath him, he's able to be a front runner, and he's shown with the Bonovo Ducati he can do that. Just a little bit further back as well, Axel Bassani doing a great job up there inside the top 7 as well.
Scott Redding's got a really good run here on Toprak. Razgatlioglu was 0.4 of a second faster than him on lap number 4. Problem for Redding is Bautista too is attacking, and Bautista comes from a distance back in the end. Toprak's gone deep. Toprak's gone very deep and is going to lose 2, maybe even 3 places. And all 3 of those Ducatis that have been nibbling on his tail have been given a route through into the podium positions on lap number 6.
And that's the problem that Toprak has right now. He said yesterday that to get the bike stopped and turned is a struggle, and he's now dropped down to 5th position, and he can't afford to drop any further than that. Michael van der Mark behind him, his teammate on the number 60 machine. Van der Mark goes well here at Phillip Island, and we also know that any chance Van der Mark has to make moves, he's always willing to take them, but he also knows that he's the rear gunner for Toprak at BMW.
It's an Aruba IT Ducati 1-2 as things stand on lap 6. Bulega leading. New personal best lap last time around from Alvaro Bautista. We always know Bautista is going to be strong at the end of a stint. The problem for Bautista here is that stint is not going to last too much longer before they are required to come into the pits and change their tyres.
Yeah, and for Toprak, let's see how he collects himself now to give himself a chance to come through on Petrucci and a few other riders. But the BMW isn't the package it was last year, but Razgatlioglu, it's the package he has, so he has to make sure he's able to make it work.
Bautista versus Redding. We haven't seen too much of this, have we, from Scott Redding? Opportunities to really race hard and well for the podium positions. He comes through on Bautista. Bautista taking no prisoners, answers straight back.
Yeah, and you can see for Redding through 3, he was really strong in Stoner Corner. Sets up to make the move down into turn 4 Miller Corner. But when you release the brake into that corner, it's so easy to just run that bike length too far, and then the other rider just gets back underneath you.
Redding's worked very hard, as we see Razgatlioglu now through on Danilo Petrucci. This is for 4th position, so Toprak finally beginning to make some progress, and Michael van der Mark handily coming through as well. So Petrucci's relegated down to 6th position. A little bit of team riding there between Razgatlioglu and Michael van der Mark. Oh, that's a big spill in towards turn number 1. Is that van der Mark that's gone down?
It is.
And it's Michael van der Mark who falls, and that's a real shame for him from 5th position. Another high-speed crash when you go down into Douans. So Van der Mark hopefully able to get straight back up to his feet after that spill. We were watching Razgatlioglu coming through on Scott Redding, which was for 3rd position. Redding, though, has got good pace in towards turn 4. He was close to the tail of Razgatlioglu once again. Toprak just trying to get himself into position. This is what happened for Michael van der Mark.
Yeah, you can see for Mikey, just as he peels into that corner, just maybe a little bit offline. We saw for Toprak as well earlier in the race that he wasn't able to get himself turned into that corner at one point. And sometimes if you're just that little bit wide on the entry, something like that can happen. But that's a massive crash as well. Big impact for Mikey. But at least for Van der Mark, it looks like he was able to get up and walk away from. Bulega's not the interesting one to see. It's what happens behind them. Does Scott Redding, who's been bottled up a little bit, try and use a clear track to open up a bit of a margin?
Well, Toprak, Razgatlioglu and Scott Redding will go on. Alvaro Bautista, though, has come into the pits. That means both of the Ducatis pitting on the same lap at the end of lap number 9. We can see from overhead as they make their way in towards the boxes. They're set up side by side, and Nicolo Bulega has to cut in. Alvaro Bautista will be able to ride straight down pit lane and into his position. Interesting
detail there that on Bulega's side, they've given themselves the high vis to be able to differentiate themselves for Bulega coming into the pits.
So Razgatlioglu and Redding continue on. That means that Toprak Razgatlioglu is now your race leader, but we know that's not for long. Scott Redding is going to make sure it's not for long at all as he comes through at Miller Corner, but is not able to get it stopped, and Razgatlioglu is straight back past. These two need to get their head down to the end of this lap. When they pit, they will be coming out very close to Alvaro Bautista, very close to Danilo Petrucci, as Nicolo Bulega makes his way to the end of pit lane. Obviously, he will be the leader once everyone has managed to make their pit stop, providing he doesn't break that minimum pit intervention time of 63 seconds, then there'll be no penalty, and you'd expect him to feed back into a lead of 6 seconds or more.
Yeah, he shouldn't be too close to that as well. He's been comfortable in the lead of this race, so it's all about trying to make sure that you get away without any penalties.
So, at the time of the pit stops, it was Bulega leading, 6.5 seconds ahead of Bautista, Razgatlioglu and Redding. Obviously, we lost Michael van der Mark from that lead group to a crash. The other riders behind are now going to peel in. Scott Redding getting close to Toprak, Razgatlioglu, very close to Toprak, Razgatlioglu actually, as they make their pit entrances, and Redding moves across the path of Toprak now to consolidate that position. As we watch Danilo Petrucci now making his move on Scott Redding. He needed to get that move done because Andrea Iannone was starting to hound him. So Petrucci's put a bike between himself and Iannone. Might not be too much longer before Iannone on the 29, the Go 11 bike, the yellow machine behind Scott Redding, comes to try and attack for 5th position. We watch Nicolo Bulega exit the final turn, and just as he did a year ago, it's first blood to Nicolo Bulega in the World Championship as he takes race 1 in Phillip Island. Alvaro Bautista will be close to Toprak Razgatlioglu, but the pit stop phase proved costly for him. He lost a second through there. In the end, he's only 2/10 behind Razgatlioglu in the fight for second. Danilo Petrucci, top independent, holds on ahead of Scott Redding by just 1/10 of a second, with Andrea Iannone also in touch at the checkered flag. And that's 5 Ducatis in the top 6 positions. Top Yamaha, Andrea Locatelli. Top Bimota, Alex Lowe's in P8. And ahead of Axel Bassani. But Bassani much closer to his teammate today than he was really at any stage last season on the Kawasaki. Vierge Egeta Vickers. This is Tetsuya Nagashima. He's coming across the line ahead of Bahatin Safoglu, who'll pick up a point on his Superbike World Championship debut. 16 finishers only in the end in race 1.